Welcome back to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Michigan stealing other teams' signs and how it pertains to us. Now, if you have not heard about this, Michigan is up under a lot of fire right now for allegedly stealing other teams' signals and signs. Basically, what's been going on is there's a guy that they have employed on their staff named Conor Stalion, and we're going to get into him in just a minute, but he basically has been buying tickets for himself and for other people that he's kind of lined up, sounds like on like a rogue mission to go out to these other games, mostly Big Ten games, but also a few other schools, and pretty much sit right behind those teams' benches and figure out what their signs are and bring that information back to the Michigan coaching staff. Now to get into who Conor Stalion is, because I think a lot of people need to hear this and some people may not know. So Conor Stalion basically grew up in Michigan. He is a lifelong Michigan fan. He's a diehard Michigan fan. And he has even gone as far as to build this network of coaches and people who he would put on his staff once he takes over Michigan's program. That's his whole goal. That's his main objective in what he's doing. So he's got a 550 to 600 page manifesto that he calls the Michigan Manifesto, and he has put all different types of ideas for the Michigan program under his basically rule, so to speak. And you know, he's just a really passionate guy. So he pretty much just started stealing teams' signals and signs from his couch watching games at home. So he pretty much would watch film, which is something that we do a lot on this channel. You know, watching film as a fan and breaking it down, but you know, he starts to steal signals and he starts to figure out, hey, I know what these guys are doing. And then at that point, he's able to get close enough to Michigan staff to actually be able to get on the sideline during a game. And he's sitting there whispering to the offensive coordinator, hey, you know, this is what this defense is trying to run. This is what the pressure is. This is what coverage they're in. And from what I've been reading, it sounds like Michigan was so impressed with his work that they decided to eventually hire him onto the staff. Now, before they did actually hire him onto the staff, it does sound like Jay Harbaugh, who is Jim Harbaugh's son and is on Michigan staff as the special teams coordinator and as the safeties coach, actually did send a Venmo payment to Conor Stalion. Now, since then, they both have, you know, gotten rid of their Venmos, so we can't tell how much money was sent, and we also can't tell what that was for. But obviously there is a paper trail there, and I think where there's smoke, there is fire. So in 2022, Conor Stalion's effort earned him a spot on Michigan staff as an analytics assistant. And that name is very telling. You can pretty much already see what he was doing for their staff and for their team. Now, is this an uncommon position for people to have on a college football staff? Absolutely not. Every single team, every single major team that has the resources to be able to get guys like this who can do any type of, you know, film breakdown, all that, they're going to have them. I'm sure Tennessee has them. Haven't looked into it, but I mean, I just know that they have them. Every single team has them. All right, so that's all well and good, but what does that have to do with our Tennessee Volunteers? Well, let me pull up this article for you. All right, so this is from Nick Gray of the Knoxville News Sentinel. And in this article, Nick writes, Michigan suspended staff member Conor Stalion bought a ticket to Tennessee football's 2022 game against Kentucky at Neyland Stadium, Yahoo Sports reported Tuesday, among other games involving Big Ten teams as well as possible college football playoff participants last season. Stalion bought a ticket within viewing range of the Vols sideline and the coaching staff signals and transferred the ticket to someone else who used it on October 29th of 2022, Yahoo Sports reported. Tennessee won 44-6 that evening at Neyland Stadium and were ranked number 1 in the initial college football playoff rankings 3 days later. Now, this is not necessarily brand new. If some of y'all have been frequent on VolQuest chat forums, then you would know about Arnie Palmy Alert, who actually wrote messages about this on their forums as early as last year. But this one right here comes from January the 17th of 2023, and he says, no clue if related, but I posted on here a couple of months ago about a mutual friend of mine that was working for Michigan, going to other schools' games, stealing plays. They pay his flights, lodging, food, and seats behind the team's bench for him to get video, notes, etc. And, he pretty much goes on to say, can check my history to confirm if you want. Guy had tickets to our game at Vandy as they'd already paid for his stuff, thinking they'd see us in the playoffs before we lost to South Carolina. So let's take a look at what he did say before. Let's check out his history. Okay, this is from December the 1st of 2022. And this one right here says, one of my little brother's friends is a scout for them being Michigan. He said they paid for him to travel to the UT Vandy game, had planned it before the loss, obviously, to try to steal our signs. He's from Nashville originally, so he just went anyway, even after our loss, since it was Thanksgiving. Says he and the others are never allowed to talk to Harbaugh directly about it. All right, so we can already see that obviously Michigan has been spying on Tennessee. They thought that they would see us in the playoffs and, went above and beyond what I guess most people would expect from college football programs. But I'm here to tell you that this is not the only program that has done this or that is doing this. I would be willing to bet that most programs are doing this or something very similar to this. You got to think about it. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars to provide for their families. And, this is their livelihood. So they're going to take every single competitive edge that they possibly can. All right, so now let's see what Coach Josh Heupel has to say about this when asked in his SEC teleconference earlier today. All right, so quote, I really just heard of that a little while ago that it had happened, end quote. Okay, now they're going on to say that this is what Coach Heupel is saying in the SEC coaches teleconference on Wednesday. Now, back to Coach Heupel. He says, quote, it's obviously something for us on offense, defense, special teams that I think every team in the country certainly tries to hide your signals and constantly change them up to make sure nobody is getting a beat on you. Then he also goes on to say, for us, that's obviously important to this form of communication that we have with our guys that are out on the field, end quote. All right, so as we can see, Coach Heupel is not too concerned about it. They've already got things in place to make sure that they are changing up signs every week because guess what? Coaches know that this goes on, right? This is part of the game. This is what happens, right? You're out there, you're trying to put the best product on the field. So again, whatever sort of an advantage that you could possibly get, you're going to utilize it as long as it's, not, something outrageous. As long as coaches aren't doing something to try to hurt, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, or I guess injure in any way, shape, form, or fashion, anyone from the other team, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm all for it. And I think that everyone else around the country is too. I've heard a few other coaches speak on this, and nobody is throwing Michigan under the bus in any way. Even Ryan Day just said no comment. He doesn't even want to talk about it. I think that these guys don't want to speak on it because that could very well and very easily be them. And, this is kind of a silly rule, and it's been in place since 1994 that you cannot go to the other team or to any other team's venues and film them for the purposes of getting some sort of an edge. You can't steal signs, things like that. Now, if you do it from your couch, that's all well and good, okay? That's where Conor Stalion was okay at. He was first doing it from the comfort of his own home. But once he started buying tickets to these games and started going to these games, that's when he got himself and Michigan into what looks like could be a lot of trouble. Don't know what's going to end up happening to Michigan. Does kind of seem like the NCAA has it out for Harbaugh and Michigan, so don't know if they're going to try to, come down on them hard, but I would say that they really don't need much more than a slap on the wrist because honestly speaking, guys, these teams have so much analytics on the teams that they're facing. I can tell you just as a player in college, you come into the week with a game plan that is about that thick, okay? It's about an inch thick of what the opposing team likes to do. You know, all of their tendencies, okay, based off of formations that they're in, down and distance, where certain players line up, how much they target certain players, certain players' strengths, their weaknesses, everything that you need to know or can know about that team, almost down to their shoe size, guys. Everything going into that game. Seeing their, play calls, signs, and signals and stuff is really not going to help you, all right? Because you should pretty much already know based off of down the distance, how they're lined up, what they're probably going to be running. The question really is, can you stop it? Now, some of you may be saying, okay, but if I know what this play call is, I can scheme something up to stop it. Maybe, okay, that could be a fair argument. But think about it this way, right? If you're on defense and you're trying to see what the offense's play calls are, the offense's coaches are going to signal in their calls to the offense. All right. You've got to sit there, wait for the signals to be completely done so that you'll know what that play is. Then you've got to signal in to your team on defense what they have to do. They've got to get lined up, and then they've got to be able to execute. By the time that the offense's coaches are done signaling their plays in, the offense is getting lined up, they're getting set, and they're about to run that play. We just don't have that much time to be able to utilize anything like this. So I get Conor Stalion's passion. I think it's a little bit teetering on the side of being crazy, but he's trying to help his team win. His passion overcame common sense. Common sense would tell you that this is not something that can really be utilized in a major way in any game, not in live reps and live action. Now, is this something that could be practiced and implemented if a team really wanted to use this and put it into practice and things like that? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would take a while for this to get good. The thing about it is you don't have that much time to game plan for a team. Okay, so a lot of the core of what a team does is done in the off season. You can't go in and try to, figure out what every team's play calls are going to be based off of signals in the off season. It's just too much information. So all that just to say, guys, this is not a really big deal. They're trying to make it into one, but this goes on. And like Coach Heupel said, teams are going to change up their signals every single week. It's not going to be the exact same every week. They might go, 3 to 4 weeks with different signals, and they might just keep on cycling that 3 to 4 weeks of different signals. They might switch it up here and there, but there really is no cause for concern from anybody. Again, just part of the game. So hope that y'all enjoyed this video. A little bit different from what we normally do, but we definitely appreciate y'all for watching. Please leave y'all's thoughts and comments down in the comment section and let us know, hey, is this a big deal or not? And as always, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.